So thankful to all of you, our fans, and thanks for celebrating with us some of our most iconic fashion moments all this week on the show. See you tomorrow. Stay safe.
Tonight, extradition order, a man to be brought back to Queensland charged with the brutal deaths of his mum and dad. Their joiner bed and breakfast remains a crime scene. A deadly end to a desperate search, the body of a yachtsman discovered off the Sunshine Coast. Why we'll never win the war, our top medicos' dire corona prediction as the government launches a probe into what went so wrong in Rockhampton. Safety in numbers, Australia gains global support in its push for a probe into the pandemic. And our land before time, Queensland researchers solve a classic whodunit by unearthing mysteries of our past.
This is 10 News First Queensland with Georgina Lewis.
Good evening. A 31-year-old man is tonight behind bars charged with killing his parents in their secluded bush retreat north of Brisbane. The couple may have been dead for at least a day before their bodies were found, sparking an interstate manhunt.
Hopping out of the boot in handcuffs, a man accused of murdering his mother and father. The bodies of Loris and Franco Puglia were found by a relative inside their home, a bed and breakfast north of Brisbane, yesterday afternoon.
Initial examinations have led our investigators and scientific officers to conclude that the cause of death was as a result of blunt force trauma.
The grim discovery sparked a major police investigation. At the centre, the couple's 31-year-old son, Christopher. Police say he took off on Saturday night in his father's Toyota SUV. Around 6:30 last night, New South Wales Police pulled over the vehicle travelling on the M1 in Sydney.
He was arrested and taken into custody by virtue of arrest warrants issued by Queensland detectives, alleging 2 offences of murder and 1 offence of unlawful use of a motor vehicle.
Today, the bed and breakfast remains a crime scene as police try to piece together exactly what unfolded.
We obviously will be looking at the history, but there's nothing that jumps out right at the moment that overtly says that was a foreseeable event.
Tributes are already flowing online for the couple. Loris was a much-loved member of the Guide Dogs Queensland family. Its CEO releasing a statement sending love and support to her family and friends. The accused killer's case was briefly mentioned in Parramatta local court this morning. Queensland detectives weren't able to get a flight to New South Wales overnight and are expected to apply for his extradition in court tomorrow.
In terms of the examination of the scene and putting everything together, that makes it reasonable grounds to believe that he has committed these offences.
For now, Christopher will remain behind bars at the Sydney Police Centre.
And Samantha Butler joins us now. Sam, when is the accused expected back in Queensland?
Well, Georgie, if the application for Christopher's extradition is successful, police expect he'll arrive back in Queensland on Wednesday to front court Thursday. The crime scene at the Joiner property is expected to remain in place for several days, and an investigation centre has also been set up at the Petrie Police Station. Anyone with information is being urged to call Police Link on 131 444 or Crime Stoppers. Georgie?
Thank you, Sam, with that update. A man has drowned after falling from a yacht off the Sunshine Coast. Joe Hill joins us now with the details. Joe, how were authorities alerted?
But Georgie, it was an ominous sight which greeted beachgoers and emergency crews this morning. A yacht had run aground on Mooloolaba Beach with its owner nowhere to be seen. And that sparked a huge sea and air search which sadly discovered the body of the skipper around 500 metres out to sea. Authorities couldn't be sure though if he was the only person on board, so they had to continue their search until they were satisfied that he was indeed on his own. Now, a US passport was found on board and the boat is registered in the States. A witness said that they'd seen the man trying to fix a sail before he fell in. The Coast Guard today said that conditions on the water were far from ideal.
Conditions are fairly rough. We've had forecasts of up to 25 knots, which is about 50 kilometres an hour, and it's around about 2 to 2.5 metre seas and about 1.5 metre swell, so not very good for boating.
There was another search being carried out on the Sunshine Coast, about 80 kilometres off Peregian Beach. They were looking for a fisherman who had fallen off a trawler. It's believed he fell into the water when the boat hit a wave. Other crew members threw in safety equipment. They tried to mark the spot as best they could, but at this stage he hasn't been found. Georgie, authorities say they will do everything in their powers to bring him home safely.
Thank you, Joe, with the latest there. Our Chief Health Officer has delivered a sobering reality check, admitting we're unlikely to ever beat coronavirus. The stark warning came as an independent investigation was launched to uncover any possible shortcomings that led to the Rockhampton nurse debacle.
On the ground in central Queensland, the Health Minister and our state's top medical mind at the Rockhampton nursing home, where a coronavirus crisis has been averted.
All tests have returned negative.
Only one staff member who is on leave hasn't been tested, even with everyone else given the all clear. Authorities are bracing for a second wave.
But that doesn't mean that people can't now still get infected. We all know that the incubation period is 14 days.
It is still unknown how or where the nurse contracted the virus. What led to her working while infectious will be laid bare during an independent investigation, exposing if there were any failures in practice.
We want to understand exactly how it happened, what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how we can make sure it never happens again.
It won't be a witch hunt, according to the Health Minister, but he concedes a mistake has been made.
Since she had that confirmed result, she has been extremely cooperative and has worked very closely with us.
For the first time in a long time today, we were given a clearer indication on when border restrictions may relax, but it seems any change is still months away.
Best case scenario, July, but I think it's very, very, very unlikely.
I would say that things would look more positive towards September. Having said that, I don't want to rule anything out.
Because even with few confirmed cases, the spread of the virus slowing and restrictions relaxing, the health threat is far from over.
This is why we cannot assume we've beaten this virus. We haven't. It's unlikely that we will ever beat this virus. We'll have to find ways of managing it.
That means a vaccine, and it is still months, if not years away.
John Paul is at State Parliament for us tonight. JP, the New South Wales Premier has taken another swipe at Anastasia Palaszczuk over our border restrictions.
Georgie, Gladys Berejiklian has made it very clear she wants to see the Queensland and New South Wales border open as soon as possible. She says it makes sense for residents, for businesses and for stimulating economic activity. Anastasia Palaszczuk insists there will be no change until the southern states, though, are able to contain their coronavirus cases. The New South Wales Premier has hit back, labelling that plan as beyond reality because it is possible we may never eradicate COVID-19 in Australia. Pressure is certainly mounting on Anastasia Palaszczuk to justify a date and provide some more clarity on when the border restrictions will be eased. We know the arrangements are reviewed at the end of every month. Georgie?
Thank you, John Paul, live there at State Parliament. Australia's standoff with China is getting worse by the day. Scott Morrison has now managed to get more than 100 countries to back his idea of an inquiry into how COVID-19 started, which will be voted on tonight at a global health summit in Switzerland.
A warm greeting for the Chinese press. From the same politician who's ignoring our own trade minister here in Australia.
We need to consolidate traditional markets and explore emerging markets.
China's Minister for Commerce still isn't returning Simon Birmingham's calls, but the Minister for Agriculture has made at least some progress with his counterpart.
I've heard back, and at this point in time they don't have enough time to set aside for any conversation with me directly.
All this as a trade dispute escalates.
It's incumbent on the government to be doing everything possible to have those discussions with the Chinese government.
Fuelled by calls to investigate the origins of the deadly coronavirus pandemic, a motion now backed by more than 100 countries.
I imagine China will be doing a lot of backroom negotiations to prevent this from happening. but it is a very promising sign for the federal government.
The World Health Assembly is meeting in Switzerland, where nations will take a vote.
I don't want to preempt, I don't want to speculate about the outcome.
The United States is yet to get on board.
It is a bit surprising at this stage.
This has always been about investigation, not confrontation, and Australia's been very clear on that. The right thing to do is to understand why and how can we do better.
But the push for the inquiry has angered China, which is threatening to impose an 80% import tariff on Australian barley.
We'll wait until we see that determination from China tomorrow and the detail around that.
China will make its final decision on the tariff tomorrow after tonight's vote by the Assembly. Australian exporters fear if China does follow through with the threat, it will cripple what was a lucrative industry.
Essentially, China needs us and we need them.
As a fractious relationship with our largest exporter deepens, there's a lot at stake. Amber Austin-Wright for 10 News First. Plans to keep Virgin Australia in the skies are a step closer, with administrators shortlisting possible groups to buy in and drag the company back from the brink. Chris Campy joins us now. Chris, is the Queensland Government's plan still on the table?
Georgie, the State Treasurer Cameron Dix certainly says it is, and that was after the administrators today put out a statement saying they were down to a short list of what they described as well-funded entities with strong aviation backgrounds. They say that list is down to 4. Now, notably not among those was QIC, the fund managing group that the government was tipped to join up with in order to decide what their role may be in keeping this airline afloat. But the government says QIC weren't required to put their cards on the table just yet, and that they were waiting for some initial bids to come in first. Now, as far as the government is concerned, that was always the plan, and they say they're now looking for the best deal with regard to what's at stake for Queenslanders.
We know who the serious bidders are, and that's what we said all along. We need to get the best deal for Queensland. We need to know who those bidders are, and we will now engage with all of those who've expressed an interest in purchasing the airline to see what role we can play as a state.
The administrators overseeing Virgin Australia say they got more bids than they expected at this stage of the process. But that being said, these initial offers are non-binding. There'll be a lot more wheeling and dealing over the next month or so before we see anything concrete put on the table. Now, the shape of those deals and what the government's role will be in them remains unclear at this stage.
Certainly a waiting game. Thank you, Chris. South star Cody Walker is locked in talks tonight with the NRL Integrity Unit after a damaging video surfaced. The 5'8" claims he's the victim of a blackmail attempt, which authorities are now looking into.
Violence on the streets of Casino in northern New South Wales late last year.
Settle it, boys, this is it. Settle it. You're going to have to go. No more after this, please, oh my Lord.
Two men trading blows until South star Cody Walker becomes third man in.
Oh my God, Cody's coming up the road here.
As the pair catch their breath,
Where's this one?
Walker comes in, appearing to kick the smaller man in the chest.
Yeah! Don't go kicking him!
But the show's not over.
What do you mean? I'm sitting here all day, bro. What do you mean, bro? I just want to fight you one-on-one. I just want to fight you one-on-one, Cody.
You just want to talk to us about what happened with the video, mate? Cody, do you have some words to say about the video, mate?
10 News First has been told it was a family dispute, and the Bunny's 5'8" was apparently trying to stop the fight without using his shoulder, which had been recently operated on. But his role was all filmed, and over the weekend, knowing it would be another black eye for the NRL, Walker was allegedly blackmailed by a man threatening to release the video to the media unless he was paid $20,000. He trained today at Redfern, strongly according to the coach.
Hey Wayne, how's Cody doing? Trained well?
Before being forced to front the game's integrity unit. But with police still investigating what, if any, penalty will be dished out, remains to be seen.
A return to action can't come quick enough for the Bunnies bosses, who are now dealing with the club's third drama in as many weeks.
First, it was Latrell Mitchell breaking social distancing laws.
I just want to apologise on my actions this weekend.
And being charged with firearms offences alongside Storm star Josh Adokar. While James Roberts is back in rehab, dealing with depression and anxiety.
The club will be hoping for calm before next Friday's clash with the Roosters, but 10 days is a long time in rugby league. Steve Hart for 10 News First.
Twin girls have died in a devastating house fire in New South Wales. The details next. Also, a bikie associate's wild ride across the Gold Coast that ended in handcuffs. Plus, the financial fallout of red flagging Queensland's biggest sporting event. And in sport, a player mutiny at the Queensland Reds. 3 teammates stood down over a pay dispute.
Some people like sweet. Others prefer savoury.
So good.
It's time to decide which is best.
It's sweet versus savoury.
Dessert King Reynolds should have this in the bag. But what goes wrong?
It's really rare that Reynolds actually makes a big mistake.
I'm feeling like this is a ridiculous mistake that I've done. What an idiot move.
Reynolds' Big Mistake, 7:30 tonight on 10.
A 28-minute bike ride needs the same amount of energy as it takes to power 3 gaming consoles. What powers you? Uncle Toby's, Australia's favourite oats.
Lendy is helping thousands of households save on average about $2,832 in interest over the next year on their home loans. That's millions in savings for Aussies when they need it most. How can Lendy help you save?
Every time you pre-rinse, you waste up to 40 litres of water. Try new Finish Quantum Ultimate Pro. It scrubs, degreases and provides the ultimate shine, so you don't need to pre-rinse. New Finish Quantum Ultimate Pro.
If you have a serious ongoing condition like osteoporosis, don't put your health on hold.
Medical authorities are urging you to keep in contact with your GP and stay on your medications.
Call your doctor today to stay treated and stay safe.
For 20 years, you've been fighting to save people money on their car and home insurance! Who are you?
Budget Direct, helping Australians save on insurance.
At Terry White ChemMart, we're here to help this winter with expert advice from masterclass trained pharmacists and a huge range of pharmacy-only cold and flu products. Get real winter defence at Terry White ChemMart. Now that's real chemistry.
Huddling at home? Try Domino's new Chicken Palmy on Deep Pan. With 22 succulent chicken pieces and crispy rasher bacon from just $15 delivered. Order now with total peace of mind thanks to zero contact delivery from Domino's.
I drive a lot. I build stuff, pull things, push things, and I hit things. And then I carry stuff.
What do you do again?
I drive a Hilux.
Australia's #1 selling vehicle, 4 years running. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Guess who's back? Comedy legend Glenn Robbins joins the team on Have You Been Paying Attention? Tonight, after MasterChef.
Good afternoon, Dave Andrews here as we wrap up the first day of the working week. The run up the gateway not doing too badly this afternoon. Nudgy all the way up to the Bruce Highway, looking pretty good. Speaking of the Bruce Highway, it's getting a little bit wet at the moment, just some odd showers floating about the place. The run up towards the Pine River Bridge is looking fairly good. Got some heavy conditions though up and down Gympie Road. We had a multi-vehicle crash around Robinson Road West earlier this afternoon. A lot of the traffic held behind that is being pushed up through Bald Hills now, and also the run around Beams Road through Castledine, quite heavy going. I'm Dave Andrews, thanks to Mount Gravatt Skoda, and Georgie, another check coming up for you later in the bulletin.
We'll see you again soon. Thanks, Dave. Tragedy has hit a small town in New South Wales. Twin 3-year-old girls have perished in a fire that destroyed a home at Batlow. The pair was pulled from the blaze but died at the scene. Their mother and another child are believed to have been outside at the time. Police remain at the property with investigations underway into the cause. A bikie associate has led police on a wild ride around the Gold Coast. The 38-year-old was tracked from the air as he drove on the wrong side of the road, often at high speed. Police deployed stingers, but he kept going before ramming into a patrol car which was trying to cut him off. He was taken away in cuffs while a search of the vehicle uncovered almost $50,000 in cash, as well as a firearm and other weapons. He's now facing multiple charges. A man who's obsessed with Delta Goodrem is accused of again harassing the Aussie star and her friend online. James Lafferty is charged with breaching his AVO but is yet to face court due to coronavirus.
James Lafferty is a passionate man, but his unwarranted passion towards Delta Goodrem, police say, has to stop. The South Grafton man, who had had previous run-ins with the Aussie singer, is alleged to have been back at it. Police say he sent her 30 messages on Instagram in 2 days, and when she didn't respond, it's alleged he sent a further 23 messages to her friend from the same account, all of which allegedly detail his continued love for the celebrity. He was arrested in March, charged with breaching an AVO. Lafferty, who has previously told a court he is one of Delta Goodrem's biggest fans, was due to appear in Grafton local court today, but it was adjourned due to coronavirus. Police hope, for the singer's sake, his punishment, if guilty, will be enough for him to get over her. Kimberly Pratt for 10 News First.
Southeast Queensland's already struggling tourism sector has been dealt yet another blow. The state's largest sporting event, the Gold Coast 600, has been scrapped, putting economic recovery for the region even further off track.
Each year, the streets of Surfers Paradise roar to life with the sounds of supercars. This year, there will be only silence.
It's a pretty devastating blow to the Gold Coast tourism industry on top of the pandemic that's happening this year.
Organisers of the Gold Coast 600 have decided to drop the event from the revised calendar due to disruptions from building a street track and limits on crowd numbers.
We decided that the best thing to do was focus on dedicated racetracks where we could control the medical constraints that we have to operate under in a more formal way.
Last year, the event attracted nearly 200,000 fans and injected more than $50 million into the economy. Businesses who were hanging on for this year's 30th anniversary race in October will be disappointed.
This is really a rolling, turbulent time. We have to deal with this on a day-by-day, week-by-week, month-by-month basis.
Anyone who has pre-purchased tickets to the event will be eligible for a refund. With more than 1 million people tuning in from around the world to see the race each year, putting the brakes on the event is estimated to have even more long-term impacts on the international tourism market.
Not having this event broadcast is going to have a significant marketing impact on the Gold Coast.
But the news is good for Townsville, hosting the state's only race in August.
Having no crowds at the supercars will definitely have an impact on the economic injection of the event, but it certainly does open up some fantastic opportunities for marketing and for broadcasting.
Organisers have vowed they will return to the Gold Coast next year if restrictions allow. Matthew Howard for 10 News First.
Well, time now for an early weather check. Josh, a few showers on the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, that's right, Georgie. Most parts of the sunny coast picking up 1 to 3 millimetres into the rain gauge. We can see those showers pushing across. A few early ones across parts of the Gold Coast this morning, but our attention is certainly focused on the Sunshine Coast this afternoon. Pretty consistent shower activity coming in and across areas. Some of the best falls around about 12 millimetres into the rain gauges since 9 o'clock this morning. Further south at the moment, it's relatively clear for Brisbane and the Gold Coast. Moving into the temperatures, though, we hit 25 in the city today, 24 on the Gold and Sunshine Coast. It was a popular number, hitting the same mark at Logan, Redcliffe and Caboolture. 1 degree warmer in Ipswich, hitting 25, and 21 was the top out on the Darling Downs for Toowoomba. Now, we've got two different air masses clashing across Australia this week. The result of that could be a widespread rain event through the eastern seaboard. Georgia will have all those weather details on that rain event coming up 5 to 6.
We'll see you then. Thanks, Josh. Ahead, grossly incompetent Donald Trump's latest attack on his presidential predecessor. Also, defiance in the streets. Brazil's leader joins the masses to protest lockdown measures as the country's death toll soars. And the record-breaking bid that was a shoo-in to land Michael Jordan's Nikes.
Be simply clever and visit Mount Gravatt Skoda. With European styling and a host of clever features, once you experience a Skoda, you won't look back. Mount Gravatt Skoda. Simply clever on Logan Road, or visit mountgravattskoda.com.au.
Boy, have we got a sweet must-see Monday for you.
It's a big one.
Good to hear.
At 7:30, it's the sweet and savoury mistake no one sees coming.
This dish, it's not that nice.
Then Ed, Amanda, Glenn, Kitty and Sam are set to give you some sweet lockdown laughs.
Oh, I'm doing a lot of online shopping. Oh, like a one-woman stimulus package, which coincidentally is something I ordered.
That's Tan's must-see Monday. Sweet.
With Light and Easy, you can still enjoy a huge variety of delicious, healthy meals in the comfort and safety of your home, thanks to their chefs and dietitians and their contactless delivery service. In fact, Light and Easy has recently been rated Australia's #1 healthy meal delivery service, scoring 5 stars for customer satisfaction, as well as taste, variety and freshness, all things you'll find on their autumn menu. Enjoy delicious, healthy meals with Light and Easy's contactless, award-winning delivery. Order today.
Looking for an effective answer to wrinkles and dark spots? Try Neutrogena Rapid Wrinkle Repair Regenerating Cream from Chemist Warehouse. Clinically proven to help smoothen fine lines and fade the look of dark spots. Pair together with Rapid Wrinkle Repair Retinol Oil for twice the wrinkle-fighting power. It works throughout the night to intensely nourish and replenish dry skin. Neutrogena Rapid Wrinkle Repair Regenerating Cream is $24.49 at Chemist Warehouse. Live, look, feel fabulous every day at Chemist Warehouse.
Go ahead, give your taste buds a thrill and think beyond the flame and grill. Sausage baked, rolled, pan-fried or in a stew. You'll love all the things our sausages can do. The British Sausage, Ham and Bacon Company. Australian made, the British way.
A promise is something Brighton Homes have always taken seriously. They're committed to building homes that let life in. But right now, a promise is more important than ever. Brighton promises that their homes will still embrace the best in Queensland living, with flexible deposit conditions and a price hold of up to 20 months. Plus, with a considerate cashback of up to 30 grand, you know the future is better with Brighton.
Far North Queensland is bracing itself for more wet weather after days of heavy rain.
Hi. They've had 140 millimetres in the last 24 hours.
After Townsville flooded, Barbara and the team were some of the first on the ground, lodging claims and getting people's lives back on track. That's the Suncorp spirit.
You wash loads, but do you ever wash your washing machine? Every load leaves behind grime and, what's that smell? Pino Clean Washing Machine Cleaner removes 99.9% of germs, leaving it clean and fresh for longer. It's not clean unless it's Pino Clean.
Whether you're turning portraits into paintings and floors into art rooms, we're here for all those messy little moments.
Prepare for your great escape with Jayco. Dealerships are open and ready for your next adventure. With great deals across the entire range, there's an RV for every budget and every adventure. Need finance? We can help with that too. Get ready to escape and visit your local Jayco dealer today.
It's really rare that Reynolds actually makes a big mistake.
Oh my goodness.
Reynolds' Big Mistake, 7:30 tonight on 10.
Hello there. Embattled airline Virgin Australia has attracted more potential buyers than administrators had expected, but they now have a shortlist believed to contain just 4 bidders. Deloitte describing the candidates as well-funded with strong aviation credentials. They say each has a plan for the business to secure the future for thousands of Virgin Australia employees. It's looking to secure binding offers by mid-June. Now, the Bureau of Statistics has put out another snapshot of Australia's COVID-19 job situation. Over the past 4 weeks, the proportion of people saying they had a job increased slightly to 64.2%. There's been a rise too in the number of Australians working paid hours. The ABS says the figures may indicate some improvement in the labour market. And this afternoon, an update on the Early Access Super Scheme. More than 1.3 million people have applied to withdraw $10 billion in super. The average payment, just over $7,500. Only 2% of applications have been declined. To the share market, it's end of the day up 1%. Agribusiness giant Elders up almost 10% after revealing its first half profit almost doubled to $52 million. Energy and mining stocks also doing well. A quick look at the dollar. It's buying 64.2 US cents. And that's finance.
As Australia and much of the US and Europe begin to reopen, other countries are only now approaching the deadly peak of their coronavirus outbreaks. Brazil is tonight expected to overtake the UK with the world's third highest known infections, exposing an ugly political crisis.
It almost defies belief.
The president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, actively encouraging his supporters to pack tightly together and rally against coronavirus restrictions. I'm really honoured by this, he says. He also helped fuel these anti-lockdown protests in Sao Paulo, the largest and one of the hardest hit cities that, along with Rio de Janeiro, has all but run out of hospital beds. Brazil is quickly approaching 250,000 COVID-19 infections. That's more than Italy and Spain, which have both done more than 5 times as many tests. Bolsonaro, who's known as the Donald Trump of the tropics, says he wants to bring Brazil's economy out of intensive care. And he's been ridiculing and openly flouting advice by governors and his own medical experts for months. Over the weekend, his second health minister in a month quit. The president fired his last one for publicly disagreeing with him, while his emergency payments to millions of low-income workers have created lines like this in areas already ravaged by the virus. It's all added to an unspeakable tragedy. More than 1,000 known virus deaths a day, and an outbreak devastating parts of the Amazon rainforest, where Indigenous communities have been left completely unprepared. And that's before Brazil's even reached its COVID-19 peak. Adam Gleeson for 10 News First.
Millions of food-loving Italians are rejoicing tonight with restaurants, cafes and even bars reopening in the last couple of hours. The further easing of restrictions followed 145 daily corona deaths, the lowest since Italy entered lockdown in March. In Spain, groups of up to 10 people can now meet outside the hardest-hit cities of Madrid and Barcelona. And the Acropolis of Athens has also just reopened as Greece further relaxes its social distancing laws. An angry Donald Trump has fired back at another thinly veiled attack by his predecessor. Barack Obama used 2 weekend commencement speeches to mock the US president's handling of the coronavirus outbreak, without once mentioning his name.
This pandemic has finally torn back the curtain on the idea that so many of the folks in charge know what they're doing. A lot of them aren't even pretending to be in charge.
Look, he was an incompetent president. That's all I can say. Grossly incompetent. Thank you.
Trump also spent the weekend tweeting out unfounded claims that Obama illegally masterminded a sinister plot to bring him down. One woman has died after an aerobatic jet crashed during a flyover near Vancouver that was put on to boost morale during the pandemic. The aircraft was filmed climbing into the sky before rolling over and plunging into a residential neighbourhood. The pilot ejected before impact and tonight remains in a serious condition. His crew member was killed on impact. Emirates is reportedly set to axe 30% of its workforce due to the pandemic. The world's biggest long-haul carrier is also considering speeding up the planned retirement of its A380 fleet. Emirates suspended regular passenger flights in March as the outbreak crippled global travel. The airline industry is predicted to lose almost $500 billion in ticket sales this year. And despite being retired for almost 20 years, Michael Jordan is still setting records. This signed pair of Nike Air Jordan 1s has sold at auction for a staggering $870,000, more than 3 times what was estimated. He wore the pair during the 1985 season, during which he broke his foot and missed 64 games. They're also mismatched sizes, as Jordan wore a size 13 on his left foot and a 13.5 on his right. Stay with us. Tonight's top stories follow the break. Also, the Queensland researchers who've unearthed a land before time and creatures no one ever knew existed. And later, the PM's performance report card 1 year on from winning the election few predicted he would.
Tonight we chat to the Queensland Premier about the plan to keep the Sunshine State's borders shut to parts of Australia.
Should the government be extending the free childcare package as we make our way out of lockdown?
And llamas are being touted as the possible miracle defence against coronavirus. I just got myself a llama. Well, I got a giraffe and a sheep. I'm just waiting for the magic to happen.
All that and more at 6:30. See you then.
people like sweet, others prefer savoury.
It's sweet versus savoury.
Dessert King Reynolds should have this in the bag. But what goes wrong?
It's really rare that Reynolds actually makes a big mistake.
Reynolds' Big Mistake, 7:30 tonight.
Different is making rather than buying, and saving rather than discarding. Embrace different and find the glad in it.
Welcome to Bunnings. We put measures in place to keep us all safe.
You can order online, drive to the store and collect with contact-free pickup.
You may have to queue on arrival to limit the amount of customers in store.
We're also limiting the number of people per aisle.
Protective screens have been installed.
And line markings and tables kept 1.5 metres apart. Contactless payment is preferred where possible.
We're doing the best we can to get you in and out of Bunnings quickly and safely. Thanks for your patience.
This is for the hundreds of thousands of folks that keep racing going. Aussies just like us that love it. And unlike any of our overseas competitors, every bet you have with TAB goes towards funding 75% of the Aussie industry and the people that keep them running. Yeah, that's worth backing. TAB. Long may we play.
Know when to stop, don't go over the top, gamble responsibly.
Even remotely, our home loan specialists can zoom into your home to help you save on your next loan. We believe that experiencing the world is a great way to build your child's resilience. To help prepare them for each experience, we have developed Aptamil Toddler, with scientifically researched ingredients that nutritionally support their immune system and cognitive function. Let them build their resilience by experiencing the world. Aptamil Toddler. Raise them resilient.
Tough, refined, exceptional value. A BT50 stands out at the Mazda Standout End of Financial Year event. Get a 2019 plate Mazda BT50 XT 4x4 dual cab with ABN bonus from $37,490 drive away.
Life may look a little different, but Bupa is still here for you. Because you shouldn't put your health on hold. Because you can't get out, we'll help you at home. And because a little advice can go a long way. Because you can't go far, we're going further to give you the support you need. Bupa, because life happens.
Want trusted skincare for your family's sensitive skin? Try the Cetaphil 1 litre range from Chemist Warehouse. Cetaphil gently cleanses, hydrates and protects even the most sensitive skin. Plus it's free from soap and fragrances so it won't sting your eyes. 9 out of 10 regular users recommend Cetaphil. At Chemist Warehouse, Cetaphil Gentle Skin Cleanser 1 litre is $14.99. Love your sensitive skin with Cetaphil. Live, look, feel well at Chemist Warehouse.
Guess who's back? Amanda, Glenn and Kitty join the party with Ed and Sam on new Have You Been Paying Attention? Tonight.
Well, hello again as we wrap things up tonight. Still got some busy conditions on Gympie Road up around Castledine after an earlier crash around Robinson Road West. That's the run through Kedron, which is looking a little bit lighter now. It's a fairly good run on the Riverside Expressway and Captain Cook Bridge. We'll have a look at that in a second. In the meantime, that's the run outbound on South Pine Road through Enoggera heading up towards Everton Park. Not doing too badly. And the Riverside Expressway and Captain Cook Bridge busy mainly heading into the city after an earlier crash on Hale Street. I'm Dave Andrews. Thanks to Mount Gravatt Skoda. Have a great night. I'll check the roads again for you tomorrow.
Tonight's top stories: a man expected to be extradited back to Queensland over the brutal deaths of his mum and dad. Their joiner bed and breakfast remains a crime scene. A yacht has washed up on Mooloolaba Beach. A desperate search for its owner ended when a man's body was found out to sea off the Sunshine Coast. And Queensland's Chief Health Officer has delivered a sobering reality check, admitting we're unlikely to ever beat coronavirus. The heartbroken parents of an 8-year-old girl left severely brain damaged following surgery are suing Monash Children's Hospital. The previously bright and healthy youngster will never walk or talk again.
2 months ago, Taylor Burns was like any other 8-year-old girl.
Taylor was a very bright girl. She was nothing wrong, everything was really good. She very caring, older sister, likes her arts and crafts.
This is her today, after what her parents say they were told would be a simple operation to drain fluid from a cyst behind her eye.
It stuffed up. And she incurred severe, as the doctor said, you need to concentrate on that word, Cameron, severe brain damage.
The grade 3 pupil had had the same operation last year with no complications, but a routine checkup at Easter showed the cyst needed draining again.
Supposedly the procedure, what I know, is supposed to only be around about 5 to 6 centimetres, and he went 15 to 16 centimetres, not only once but 3 to 4 times.
The outcome, every parent's worst nightmare.
Absolutely distraught her. She's had a baby girl taken away from her.
The devastated family has launched legal action against the hospital.
We're looking at compensation to cover full-time care for the rest of Taylor's life, loss of earnings, out-of-pocket expenses and, of course, pain and suffering damages.
Taylor is still being cared for at Monash Children's Hospital, her family confident it is still the best place for her to be. In a statement, the hospital told 10 News First they're undertaking a full review of what happened, involving an external expert. A GoFundMe page has been set up to help support the family. Georgia Love for 10 News First.
Qantas has won the right not to pay sick leave to stood-down staff following a federal court ruling, but some of the airline's workers are fighting back, throwing their support behind an appeal with the union.
We're calling on Qantas to rethink this heartless decision that they've made and reinstate the paid sick leave that these hard-working workers with over 30 years' experience in your company have missed out on.
The union claims one worker with cancer is among the 20,000 employees left in the lurch. One of the great whodunits of ancient Queensland may have finally been solved. Scientists believe they now know what killed off the giant creatures which roamed our tropical north 40,000 years ago. And they've also discovered some unknown ones.
In one of Queensland Museum's fossil sorting rooms, paleoecologist Scott Hucknall is in a high state of happiness.
Today's an exciting day for me. It's been 12 years of an absolute gut bust.
At a dig site in the Fitzroy River Basin in Queensland's tropical north, a spot called South Walker Creek, fossilised teeth, claws and bones have been uncovered, some with evidence of violent death.
I mean, that just blows my mind, figuring out what these animals were, how they lived in the environment, who ate who.
Painstaking analysis by Scott and his team have so far identified 13 new species of megafauna. They include 3 species of crocodile up to 7 metres long, a 3-metre tall kangaroo, probably too big to hop, giant goannas and a wombat the size of a cow, weighing more than 200 kilos. Now, scientists believe a wildly shifting environment killed them off over several thousand years.
Now, this amazing shift was really detrimental to very large animals. So the rivers dried up, the grasses dried up as well, they disappeared, and fire became a really frequent part of the environment.
But 3 species of megafauna survive today.
If we have the red kangaroo, the saltwater crocodile and the emu that were found at this site with these extinct megafauna, but they survived.
And equally exciting is confirmation Indigenous man would have coexisted with these megafauna for around 25,000 years, the world's longest cohabitation and definitely the most dangerous. The entire museum collection is also being digitised for the whole world to enjoy. Tim Collins for 10 News First.
Quite incredible, really, isn't
Absolutely
it?
amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it is sport time now, Jono. There's a pay dispute at the Queensland Reds.
There is on the day that they return to training, Georgie. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Coming up, the Reds stand down 3 players, including a Wallaby who refused to accept revised contracts. That's next. Rugby's not the only sport with pay issues. Aussie tennis star John Millman hits out at the governing bodies. And it's not the PGA Tour, but at least golf is back in some capacity.
Be simply clever and visit Mount Gravatt Skoda. With European styling and a host of clever features, once you experience a Skoda, you won't look back. Mount Gravatt Skoda. Simply clever on Logan Road, or visit mountgravatskoda.com.au.
Did beauticians draw the short straw when it comes to restrictions? Next.
Guess who's back? It's Glenn. The comedy legend joins Amanda, Kitty, Ed and Sam.
Did I hear correctly that Glenn Robbins is on the show?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
It's very risky to forward announce a man that far.
New Have You Been Paying Attention? Tonight after MasterChef.
A lot of us are spending more time at home.
Ow.
Using a lot more electricity and internet. Unfortunately, iSelect can't help with your naked partner walking past your big presentation. But we could help shrink those household bills. Now's the time to compare, select and save with iSelect on 13 19 20.
Introducing the new GS20 Ultra 5G, Samsung's best 5G phone on Australia's best 5G. Available now with no excess data charges in Australia when you add to any month-to-month mobile plan.
Here's to the quitters. He's a quitter. So is she. And her. That's right. They, along with thousands of other Australians, have quit smoking thanks to the help of Nicorette Quick Mist. It starts to relieve cravings from 30 seconds, making you 2.5 times more likely to quit. Let's do something amazing. Get Nicorette Quick Mist for a great price at Chemist Warehouse.
The world's most exotic fragrances are made by nature. That's why we've created Botanica fragrances, infused with natural ingredients that are responsibly sourced. Botanica by Airwick.
If you've been injured and can't work, your normal life and income can suddenly stop. Check if you have an insurance claim through your super online in minutes, so you can start again. With Slater and Gordon, tomorrow starts today.
At Coles, we're helping lower the cost of dinner with some of the key ingredients for Texan-style beef and black bean chili. Like Coles No Added Hormones Beef Chuck Casserole Steak, down to just $14 a kilo. Save $2. Coles Real Beef Stock 1 litre, $1.90 every day. And Edgell Black Beans 400 grams, down to just $1.50. Find this recipe and more at coles.com.au. Lower the cost of your dinner at Coles. Good things, great value.
Catch the Supercars stars taking on the world's best drivers and tracks in the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. Qualifying from 6 p.m, racing from 7. Live every Wednesday where you get your motorsport fix.
Chloe and Zoe are twins and Amy customers, so you have the same taste.
We both like our crafted cushions and finished faux fur. We love our HD, LED, LCD, 4K, pixel TVs.
Do you choose to save now or later on your insurance?
Later.
Buy a home or car insurance policy and Amy Flexi Premiums lets you vary your excess to save now or later. Choose a higher excess to save now or choose a lower excess to save at claim time.
You're with Amy.
It's really rare that Reynolds actually makes a big mistake.
Oh my goodness.
Reynolds' Big Mistake, 7:30 tonight on 10.
Good evening. The Reds are dealing with a player mutiny, standing down 3 teammates, including Wallaby Isaac Rodder, after they refused to take a pay cut. The club is hopeful of avoiding an ugly legal battle, while one of the game's greats has questioned their motives.
Back at Ballymore, it was meant to be a good news day for the Reds. Instead,
3 of our players were unwilling to accept a reduction in pay and their nomination for the federal government JobKeeper subsidy. And those players, Isaac Rodder, Harry Hockings and Isaac Lucas.
They were the only 3 of 190 players across the country to decline a pay cut of up to 60% until September.
The first thing I'd say is who's giving these blokes the advice, because I think it's way off the mark.
All 3 are managed by Anthony Picone, who declined to comment today. Queensland hopeful of a resolution by next week.
They've got their agent, which plays a role, but at the end of the day, We're the employer, they're the employee, they make a decision on what their future is.
It also puts their long-term representative prospects under a cloud. Rodders played 25 tests for the Wallabies, while Hockings and Lucas are considered stars on the rise.
It's disappointing because they're front of mind when it comes to the bigger picture. We have a high respect for them as rugby players. We think they're part of the solution in the future going forward.
All this as the code fights for survival.
After weeks and weeks of negotiation over pay, all the players came to the party. Now I just wonder if their ego is just getting a little bit ahead of themselves.
It's about mateship, it's about, accountability, it's about resilience, it's about, care for the cause.
Leaving their teammates to get on with the job without them. Veronica Eggleton for 10 News First.
10 days out from the NRL restart, and Broncos winger Corey Oates says the team is more united than ever. It comes in the wake of a dramatic off-season last year as the club transitioned coaches, with Oates admitting he hadn't realised how divided the team was.
I wouldn't have a drama, having going out with anyone. I feel like we're all just one big group where it just felt like we're all in different groups last year because of what was happening. Some people, knew the ins and outs of what was going on and some people didn't.
Oates is also back to full fitness after battling another staph infection during the off-season. Sun CEO Mark Evans expects to share the club's Metricon training facilities for up to 3 months, while the Crows and Power are leaving it until the last minute before they arrive on the Gold Coast to begin life in the hub.
It's been 2 months of emptiness, but the Suns' facilities will soon be the most trafficked fields in Queensland, and it could last a while.
The West Australian and South Australian sides may well stay here beyond the first 4 or 5 rounds. They may well be here for half a season or more.
We're going to stay there as long as we need to for us to get games played. That's our focus.
AFL teams across the country today returned to their clubs for training, albeit in smaller groups.
Yeah, it was awesome to see all their faces. The 8 that I trained with, 7 I trained with. It was great.
They're incredibly excitable and pleased to be back around each other. Waving at across the car park to the people who aren't in their groups.
Arch rivals the Crows and Power will remain in Adelaide this week and could check into the Mercure at Palm Meadows as late as Sunday, which could be interesting.
We have these great matches and these great grudge matches, and we're going to go into a place and be all buddies. I'm not sure about it. It just doesn't quite feel right in Adelaide.
We crossed the white line, as I think she's on.
For the Lions, once the rust and cobwebs were out, the realisation hit home. There's now a round 2 to prepare for.
This first part of the season's really important. We didn't start the year off well, but, we've got a great opportunity. If it may be that we spend the first 6 weeks in Queensland, we certainly need to capitalise on that.
What those games are will be revealed in the coming weeks. Josh McLean for 10 News First.
A number of Australia's highest profile tennis names have been forced to apply for job seeker payments. Players were allowed to resume full training today in preparation for a potential domestic competition still in the planning. But according to world number 43 John Millman, it's too little too late.
I feel as if a more concerted effort over many years should have been made. So many people play this sport. And it's a shame that only the top 100 are the ones that are making money.
I think everyone knows tennis isn't one of the cheapest sports. We, have to a lot of the times fund ourselves.
Pat Rafter Arena is currently undergoing a $1 million facelift in preparation for next year's Brisbane International and ATP Cup. After a 2-month hiatus, NASCAR got back on track this morning and then quickly off it again. A crash on the very first lap saw Ricky Stenhouse's day go up in flames, and the damage didn't end there.
Jimmy Johnson's going around.
Into the wall hard.
Unbelievable, our leader.
It wasn't just the cars needing repairs before the end of the action in South Carolina. Thankfully, Kevin Harvick, he managed to keep himself off the wall and claim victory. It doesn't seem to matter if it's real or virtual racing in the MotoGP, the same rules apply. If you want to win, you have to beat a man named Marquez. In this case, though, it was Alex claiming victory in Italy in front of brother and 6-time world champ Mark. It's not quite the PGA Tour, but in any kind of live golf is a good thing at the moment. Rory McIlroy teamed with Dustin Johnson against Ricky Fowler and Matthew Wolff. All in shorts, carrying their own bags. Fowler shooting 4 birdies in 6 holes, but aware of the absence of galleries.
Looks good. There.
Do you hear all those cheers?
Oh, yeah, no, I still hear them. They're going crazy.
It came down to a nearest to the pin finale where Johnson and McIlroy prevailed, the quartet raising over $5 million US to fight coronavirus and can also score our play of the day. Slowly, Georgie, we are getting back to sport, which is a great thing.
Yeah, it's nice to see, isn't it? Thanks, Jono. A dynamic week of weather on the way. Josh has all the details next.
Pete's Life in Lockdown is loaded with laughs. Next.
Some people like sweet, others prefer savoury.
It's sweet versus savoury.
Dessert King Reynolds should have this in the bag. But what goes wrong?
It's really rare that Reynolds actually makes a big mistake.
Reynolds' Big Mistake, 7:30 tonight.
At ANZ, we're here to help you get on top of your money. So if you need a hand banking from home, support through the ups and downs of business, or to ease the pressures of your home loan, we're here and ready to help.
Outside, it's something to look at. But inside, it's a space to be. A space we fit our lives into. A space that brings us closer. That spans generations. Where we go to let go. In a Mazda, this space is 100 years in the making. And summed up in 2 words. Zum zum.
With Allianz Comprehensive Car Insurance, we guarantee all the repairs we authorise.
Hey, good to go.
Looks great. Thanks.
Get that Allianz feeling. Call or search for a quote today.
Even though we need to stay inside, we can still keep moving. Even when you're not outside, you can still move like you are. Because even when spaces are limited, you can still move without limits.
Let's do it, baby.
It's on, mate.
Make this Saturday one to remember. Get best tote on all exotics on every race across all Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and Adelaide races. PointsBet.
The world's most exotic fragrances are made by nature. That's why we've created Botanica fragrances, infused with natural ingredients that are responsibly sourced. Botanica by Airwick.
Does anti-dandruff shampoo leave your hair dry? New Dove Dermacare Scalp is different. Tiffany used Dove on one side of her hair. The side with Dove is smooth. It fights dandruff and keeps hair smooth and nourished with no compromise. New Dove Dermacare Scalp.
Employees of Budget Direct. Over 20 years, you have become the country's most award-winning insurer, providing top-notch cover for more than 3 million Australians. Will you fight to save people on their car and home insurance? Who are you?
Proudly saving Australians on insurance for 20 years. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
Who would book a cruise holiday right now?
Cruises are all just floating gastro incubators.
I promised the girls.
Well, Greg would.
He's booked that bloody cruise. There's a book in there, Em. A book about how he is.
How to Stay Married on 10. Join the happy couple Tuesday after
It is weather time, Josh. The heavens could open this week.
Yeah, that's right, Georgie. We've got two different air masses colliding this week across central parts of Australia. As that happens, we're going to see quite a significant rain event unfold not only through parts of Queensland but down through New South Wales. And there's also the chance we could even see an east coast low form off the east coast of Australia. So we'll look at all of that in detail in just a moment. No sign of this rain event at the moment, though. It was clear skies across a large portion of Queensland today, although we did get a bit of high cloud across areas of northern Queensland. And you can see here some low cloud being driven onto the shoreline thanks to onshore winds. So we'll just duck in with the Queensland radar and just check out those showers that passed over parts of southeast Queensland today. A few early showers across parts of the Gold Coast and Brisbane area, but most of the activity was confined to the sunny coast today. As you can see, those showers pretty consistent throughout Monday, and we did receive some half-decent totals. Around about 12 millimetres recorded into the rain gauges in some locations since 9 o'clock this morning. But moving into the big picture tomorrow, we've still got our area of high pressure sitting across the Tasman Sea, still directing that onshore flow onto the Queensland coast, and as a result, those showers should persist as we get through Tuesday. Now, what we've got in the Southern Ocean is a couple of cold fronts approaching. You can see one here starting to move across South Australia, Western Victoria as we get through Tuesday. This will be followed up by a second frontal system as we get through the midweek. Now, we're going to see quite a substantial amount of cold, dry Antarctic air being driven northward on those southerly winds across parts of Australia. In combination with that, we're also going to have very warm, moist air coming down from northern Australia that will interact with that cold, dry air, and the recipe for that will be a widespread rain event. First of all, tomorrow, we're just going to see these showers continue throughout our eastern districts, in particular through areas of the southern coastline tomorrow and also through the northeast tropical coast. There is a slight chance as well we could see some showers and storms across central and western areas of Queensland for Tuesday. But let's now fast forward into the midweek, Wednesday and Thursday, when this rain event starts to get going. You can see here showers and thunderstorms widespread right across areas of western, central, southern Queensland. As we get towards Thursday, it does shift a little bit further eastwards into areas of southeast Queensland. Now, the models from this point onward are a little bit unsure what's going to happen across the weekend. Some of the models are predicting an east coast low forming off the New South Wales-Queensland border. If that is the case, we could continue to see some very heavy rain across parts of southeast Queensland, but we'll be keeping you up to date on this over the coming days. One thing is for sure, certain areas of Queensland are going to see some very heavy rain, upwards of 50 to 100 millimetres widespread across certain parts of Queensland, but no doubt this map will also change once these weather systems start to develop. We'll have a better idea of where that heavy rain will be. Interstate and Sydney tomorrow, we're looking at top temperatures of 22, partly cloudy skies, slight chance of a shower for Melbourne, Adelaide, and a foggy start in Perth with 19 through the afternoon. Chance of a shower for Cairns, Atherton and Townsville for Tuesday. Should be dry for the Isa, but the chance of a shower for Longreach. For the southeast, we're looking at the very high chance of showers near the coast, mainly in the morning and again in the late afternoon and evening. Top temps of 24 for the Gold Coast, 23 for the sunny coast. Out on the bay, southeasterly winds 15 to 20 knots, and for Brisbane City, we're looking at a few showers tomorrow with a top of 24 degrees. Again, those showers persisting Wednesday, could develop into rain on Thursday with a top of 24 degrees, but we'll have more on this upcoming rain event coming up very shortly in the bulletin.
A son in custody accused of killing his parents. That's leading 10 News First tonight. The grim discovery was made at a bed and breakfast at Georgina yesterday, sparking an interstate manhunt. The desperate search for a missing yachtsman ends in tragedy off the Sunshine Coast. And a war will never win. Queensland's top doctor delivers a grim prognosis on coronavirus. A man is tonight in custody accused of murdering his parents at their Georgina bed and breakfast before fleeing interstate. Homicide detectives have described the couple's deaths as tragic, saying no one could have seen their brutal end coming.
Driven into the Sydney Police Centre, accused parent killer Christopher Puglia. His capture was 900 kilometres from his Brisbane home, where a family tragedy played out.
There's nothing that jumps out right at the moment that overtly says that was a foreseeable event.
The 31-year-old is accused of attacking his parents, Frank and Loris, at their bed and breakfast called Serendipity Gardens on Saturday night. Another family member made the grisly discovery the next day. Police suspect the couple's death was the result of blunt force trauma, but wouldn't be drawn on whether a sledgehammer was the weapon.
We believe that there was an item at the scene that's likely to have been used to cause their deaths.
Police claim that hours after the murder, Christopher Puglia was spotted on the Gold Coast before being arrested in Sydney, allegedly driving his dad's new car.
There was obviously some technological strategies involved, as well as just good old-fashioned police work.
Queensland detectives are expected to arrive in Sydney in time for an extradition hearing tomorrow. A court heard it couldn't go ahead today because police couldn't get flights. Christopher Puglia remains in custody as the community mourns the couple.
It's a tragic and terrible thing for them.
Michael Hammond for 10 News First.
Samantha Butler has been following today's developments. Sam, police are desperate for the public's help on this.
Georgie, police are particularly interested in the movements of a white Toyota RAV4 Christopher was allegedly driving Saturday night. They say it stopped overnight in Shalito Street in Southport before continuing on to New South Wales on Sunday. An investigation centre has been set up at the Petrie Police Station, and anyone with dash cam vision or CCTV is being asked to come forward. Georgie, we've just learned that it would have been Loris's 60th birthday tomorrow, making this tragic story all the more devastating for her family.
It's just shocking. Thank you, Sam. The body of a man who fell from a yacht has been found off the Sunshine Coast beach. The massive air and sea search had been launched before authorities made the grim discovery this morning.
An empty yacht washed ashore made for an ominous sign of what was to come. Crowds lined the popular Mooloolaba beach as emergency crews searched desperately for the overboard skipper.
Could have been an hour, potentially, and so he might have been in the water up to an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours.
The man's body was found around 500 metres out to sea. It wasn't clear at first, though, if he was the only one on board, leaving authorities battling treacherous waters in case there were others lost at sea.
Well, conditions are fairly rough. We've had forecasts of up to 25 knots, which is about 50 kilometres an hour, and it's around about 2 to 2.5 metre seas and about 1.5 metre swell, so not very good for boating.
A witness saw someone trying to fix a sail on the front of the yacht before falling in. Its tracker showed the vessel had left from Double Island Point before running aground at Mooloolaba. It's believed a passport was found on board belonging to a 57-year-old man from the United States. Joe Hill for 10 News First.
There's more good news from central Queensland tonight, with no new cases of coronavirus from a North Rockhampton aged care facility. As John Paul Gonzo explains, an independent investigation is now underway to uncover how the infected nurse was allowed to continue working.
All residents and staff except one worker on leave at the North Rockhampton Nursing Centre have now been tested for COVID-19 and all have returned a negative result. It is the best possible outcome, with fears the confirmed case from the nurse could quickly spread into an outbreak. The residents who were in close contact have now been isolated, all put into single rooms. Extra nurses have also arrived in central Queensland to help manage the situation. Our Chief Health Officer says the scare proves we are a long way from overcoming this pandemic.
This is why we cannot assume we've beaten this virus. We haven't. It's unlikely that we will ever beat this virus. We'll have to find ways of managing it.
An independent investigation has now been launched into the aged care facility. The nurse involved has been cooperative, even agreeing to take a second test.
We want to understand exactly how it happened, what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how we can make sure it never happens again.
With only 2 new cases overnight, there was also more clarity from the government on when border restrictions could ease. Dr. Jeanette Young revealed the best case scenario is July, but that is highly unlikely. The Premier says September is a possibility, but it depends on how other states manage COVID-19.
Administrators in charge of embattled airline Virgin Australia say they've created a short list of potential buyers. More interest was received than expected, and 4 companies are now said to be in the running. But there's still no further clarity on where that leaves Project Maroon.
We wanted to ensure that the tyre kickers who weren't interested didn't continue or who didn't express an interest, we had clarity over that. So we're keeping the Maroon cards close to the chest.
Initial bids are non-binding. A month of wheeling and dealing is expected before concrete offers are put on the table. Scott Morrison has managed to get more than 100 countries to back his idea of an inquiry into how COVID-19 started. The motion will be voted on tonight at a global health summit in Switzerland. Australia's call for an investigation has angered Beijing, despite not specifically mentioning China or the city of Wuhan, where the outbreak began.
I imagine China will be doing a lot of backroom negotiations to prevent this from happening. But it is a very promising sign for the federal government.
China is also threatening to impose an 80% import tariff on Australian barley. It's expected to make a final decision after tonight's vote by the Assembly. It's exactly 1 year since Scott Morrison won the election that no one gave him much hope in. But as it turns out, that was the easy part, with bushfires and the virus testing his character and his leadership. Peter Van Onselen takes a look at the year that has defined our Prime Minister.
1 year ago today,
I have always believed in miracles.
Scott Morrison won an election few thought he would.
How good is Australia?
10 News First spoke to three of the gallery's senior political editors to get their take on the last 12 months.
The government won an election it didn't expect to win. It spent a couple of months kind of looking around at itself thinking, my God, what the hell do we do now?
It showed because they didn't really know what they were going to do next, a bit like the dog that caught the car.
It started with a state dinner at the White House.
Well, you and I, Peter, were on that amazing trip that Scott Morrison did to America.
I would say a man of titanium. You know, titanium's much tougher than steel.
Meeting Donald Trump and all of that sort of stuff, that was a highlight for weird reasons.
Then the bushfires struck.
I'm only shaking your hand if you give more funding to our RFS.
He'd probably give himself a low mark during the bushfires.
Including that decision to holiday in Hawaii.
Scott Morrison fumbled that very badly.
For Scott Morrison, it's been very patchy. It's almost been in two halves.
Well, pre-COVID, I reckon we'd be lucky to scrape a pass.
The coronavirus came along and it's given them an agenda, and it's a huge agenda.
We've got ahead of this early. We intend to stay ahead of this. Stop hoarding. I can't be more blunt about it. Stop it. This is a tough day for Australia.
When partisanship recedes, all governments do better.
Post-COVID, I actually think they've done the best job they could have in the circumstances. I'd probably give them an 8.
I'll give them probably sort of 8 out of 10, I reckon.
8 or 9 out of 10 of the coronavirus crisis.
Another positive news poll today highlights the jump in support Scott Morrison has received since the COVID crisis started. However, it hasn't all been plain sailing. Sports rorts cost the Deputy Nationals leader her job.
I am very proud of a program by this government.
Angus Taylor's misuse of a fake document continues to cast a shadow over the government.
I think I've answered that question.
And of course, this promise.
The budget is back in black. Absolutely.
Has been junked. But overall, from mishandling the bushfires through to saving Australia from the worst of the coronavirus so far, it might have been a tough 12 months for the Prime Minister, but he certainly entrenched himself in Kirribilli House behind me. Peter Van Onselen for 10 News First.
Coming up, the GC 600 red flag that's set to hit our struggling tourism industry even harder. Also, the mountain mission to rescue an injured climber after a long night out in the cold. Plus, the night at the museum that's landed a gatecrasher in court. And in sport, the Reds return to training minus 3 players who are locked in a pay dispute.
How one Aussie kid's lifting spirits of bushfire victims with Pokemon cards. Plus, why dumplings spelt disaster for MasterChef fan favourite Hayden Quinn.
Quality, style, exceptional value. A Mazda stands out. At the Mazda Standout End of Financial Year event, get a Mazda CX-5 Max from $32,990 drive away. Search Mazda offers now.
Save 20% on your second policy when you buy new, eligible Suncorp home and car insurance together before July 10. Helping you save when you need it most. That's the Suncorp spirit.
Huddling at home? Try Domino's new Chicken Parmesan Deep Pan.
with 22 succulent chicken pieces and crispy rasher bacon from just $15 delivered. Order now with total peace of mind thanks to zero contact delivery from Domino's.
Gian, why do you love LifeSpace Broad Spectrum Probiotic from Chemist Warehouse?
LifeSpace Broad Spectrum Probiotic is Australia's #1 selling probiotic. Its 15 multi-strain formulation helps encourage good bacterial diversity to support a healthy microbiome. It can also assist with immune system function and general health and well-being.
At Chemist Warehouse, LifeSpace Broad Spectrum Probiotic is only $23.99.
LifeSpace is my go-to probiotic brand for the whole family. Make it yours too.
Live, look, feel well at Chemist Warehouse.
We're losing him.
What do you want to do?
Ew!
At Coles, we're helping lower the cost of dinner with some of the key ingredients for Texan-style beef and black bean chili. Like Coles No Added Hormones Beef Chuck Casserole Steak, down to just $14 a kilo. Save $2. Coles Real Beef Stock 1 litre, $1.90 every day. And Edgell Black Beans 400 grams, down to just $1.50. Find this recipe and more at coles.com.au. Lower the cost of your dinner at Coles. Good things, great value.
Your Ford dealer is still open and ready to help your business get back to business with high-vis value. So you can get a hard-working Ranger XLT for only $54,990 drive away, or the great value Ranger XLS for just $46,490 drive away. And don't forget to check if your business is eligible for the government's instant asset write-off this financial year. So hurry into your Ford dealer now for high-vis value.
A third-generation butcher, born and bred. Pop's traditional recipes fill his head. His award-winning sausages are so sublime, you can enjoy these beauties anytime. The British Sausage, Ham and Bacon Company. Australian-made the British way.
Have we got a show for you?
Would you like to see it? Pass.
The Dream Team are back together. Glenn, Amanda, Kitty, Ed and Sam. Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, I'd go on that show.
Excellent.
New Have You Been Paying Attention? Tonight after MasterChef.
You're watching 10 News First. A marathon mission to rescue an injured rock climber from the Blue Mountains in New South Wales has finally come to an end. 57-year-old Cameron McPherson was abseiling with friends late yesterday afternoon when he fell, suffering 2 broken ankles and a possible fractured arm. Emergency services were called, but with the sun setting, were unable to winch him out, forcing them to stay the night.
He's had care from 2 critical care paramedics who have given him pain relief, stabilised any fractures. They've provided shelter for him.
Amid poor weather conditions, he was winched out around 3 this afternoon and taken to hospital for treatment. A German visitor will have to abide by a curfew after he was allegedly caught roaming the Australian Museum in the middle of the night. The student faced court today, charged with breaking and entering and stealing a hat.
Taking an unguided tour in the middle of the night. That's what Paul Kuhn is accused of doing at the Australian Museum in Sydney.
Why were you at the museum?
Go back in time.
Are you a history buff?
Roaming the corridors, police will allege the 25-year-old German student broke in through scaffolding of a building that's being renovated, strolling around for almost half an hour early last Sunday morning.
How was your night at the museum?
The alleged solo adventure took him through the prehistoric exhibitions, looking at the museum's display of dinosaur bones, even stopping to take a selfie with the model skull of a T-Rex.
Who did you send those selfies to?
He's been charged with breaking and entering, and while nothing of great value was taken, he's also charged with stealing this Akubra-style hat and a framed photograph.
Kuhn handed himself into police along with his passport. The magistrate granted him bail, but due to the time of the alleged late-night break-in, she handed him a curfew. He'll have to be found in his home between the hours of 9 p.m. and 6 a.m.
The adventure for this explorer is over until he returns to court in June. Sydney Pede for 10 News First.
The cancellation of Queensland's biggest sporting event has left the state's tourism bosses reeling. As Matthew Howard explains, the loss of the Gold Coast 600 supercar race could have long-term impacts on our economy.
I'm standing in what is usually pit lane for October's Supercar Race Series here on the Gold Coast. This year, though, it will simply remain a car park with the 30th annual event cancelled for 2020. Organisers scrapped it from the race calendar on the advice of health authorities, given it's a street circuit that would require construction in public spaces and be limited by crowd restrictions.
Given the disruption that those residents have been through, given the challenges around social distancing, it's just not appropriate to be running those events.
It's a huge blow for the local and state economy, already suffering amid the pandemic. Every year, the 600 draws a crowd of nearly 200,000, with an estimated worth of $50 million.
Losing major events like this has the potential to make it even harder for businesses to survive this pandemic crisis.
Usually the race broadcast showcases the region to more than 1 million international viewers, potential future visitors who will also be lost.
This is really a rolling, turbulent time. We have to deal with this on a day-by-day, week-by-week, month-by-month basis, but we are working on strategy going forward so we can create a roadmap.
There is some good news for North Queensland, with Townsville to host a race in August.
Having no crowds at the supercars will definitely have an impact on the economic injection of the event, but it certainly does open up some fantastic opportunities for marketing and for broadcasting. Organisers
have vowed the GC 600 will be back bigger and better in 2021, but that's little consolation for businesses who are looking to this year's race to get the struggling tourism sector back into gear.
Well, Jono's back now with another look at sport.
Thank you, Georgie. Hello again. The Reds have been forced to stand down a trio of players after they rejected a competition-wide pay deal. The team returned to training today without Isaac Rodder, Isaac Lucas and Harry Hockings. They won't rejoin the squad until the club ends negotiations with their manager.
It's about mateship, it's about, accountability, it's about resilience, it's about, care for the cause.
After weeks and weeks of negotiation over pay, all the players came to the party. Now, I just wonder if their ego is just getting a little bit ahead of themselves.
Most of the competition has taken a pay cut of up to 60% until September. Having 4 interstate AFL teams housed on the Gold Coast is sure to provide a much-needed boost for the region's tourism. But the mood isn't quite as happy in Adelaide as old rivals the Power and Crows deal with the reality of having to live together.
Back on track at their home bases, but not for long. The Crows and Power are moving to the Gold Coast on Sunday, and the AFL has put them in the same hotel.
We have enormous respect for the team, for the Crows, absolutely enormous respect, but just don't like you.
Given the choice, Port Adelaide would prefer to be housed with one of the West Australian teams.
We are arch enemies a bit. It doesn't make a lot of sense to put them together. We have these great matches and these great grudge matches, and we're going to go into a place and be all buddies. I'm not sure about it. It just doesn't quite feel right in Adelaide.
I don't have an issue with being with Port Adelaide whatsoever. I mean, we crossed the white line, as I think she's on. But I know a lot of our guys, they know each other really well.
Both SA clubs will enter the hub early. They can't stay in Adelaide because restrictions prevent them from contact training.
I'm looking at the community thinking everyone else is having to live a pretty reasonable life. I think we're probably being shut down a little bit too far as what we can and can't do. And we could potentially be here for another 3 weeks. So wouldn't that be fantastic? But it doesn't look like we're going to get that.
The AFL has produced a 40-page document detailing what players can and can't do inside the hubs. Despite staying on a golf course, the players can't play around, nor are they allowed to go for a surf.
That's just what it is, and that's a sacrifice we need to make to get the game up and running, and majority of the players certainly understand that.
A fixture will be released in coming days, with the SA and WA teams expected to remain in Queensland for the opening month.
I think we will still travel, and so will Brisbane. More likely the West Australian and South Australian sides will play more games in South East Queensland at the moment.
Max Burford for 10 News First.
German giants Bayern Munich have wasted no time in their league comeback. In the club's first game in 2 months, Bayern beat Union Berlin 2-0.
And that seals it for Bayern. 10 minutes remaining. And that, you would have to say, should be that.
The result puts Munich 4 points clear on top of the Bundesliga, which is the first major European soccer league to return after the COVID-19 shutdown. Georgie, 10 more days before the NRL starts as well.
Slowly getting back to normal. Slowly. Thanks, Jono. Coming up, Josh has the latest on the rain heading for Queensland.
Some people like sweet.
Others prefer savoury.
So good.
It's time to decide which is best.
It's sweet versus savoury.
Dessert King Reynolds should have this in the bag. But what goes wrong?
It's really rare that Reynolds actually makes a big mistake.
I'm feeling like this is a ridiculous mistake that I've done. What an idiot move.
Reynolds' Big Mistake, 7:30 tonight on 10.
Even though we need to stay inside, we can still keep moving. Even when you're not outside, you can still move like you are. Because even when spaces are limited, you can still move without limits.
When your throat is swollen or painful, standard lozenges may not be enough. Call on Strepsils Extra. Its advanced formula goes beyond our standard lozenges and numbs pain fast.
Get Strepsils Extra at Chemist Warehouse now.
Tomorrow night, Click Frenzy is unleashing mayhem! Massive savings, the biggest brands only for 2 days. Let's regrow. Register now. clickfrenzy.com.au. Sales start 7 p.m. tomorrow.
Smartly monitor and track physical distancing at work with the new i2 Safe app. With smart monitoring Bluetooth, the app tracks worker distance to ensure a safe work environment. App access available soon. Register your interest today at cloud82k.com/i2safe.
At Drake's, the health of our customers and team is paramount. That's why we've partnered with Academy Services to use NanoSan, a natural spray that kills 99.9% of pathogens. Drake's are committed to providing our customers with a safe shopping environment.
It was this photo that she put up of me online. And I was sort of like, why didn't you tell me I was losing my hair?
I thought he knew.
Reached your turning point? The doctors at Ashley and Martin could help regrow your hair.
The espresso capsule from Law, the aluminium capsule designed to fit your Nespresso machine. Discover Law capsules and be captivated by a gold standard espresso.
Going crazy stuck at home? Want help to cook up some fun? Why not get your Hungry Jack's flame-grilled favourites delivered now with Uber Eats or Menulog? With easier online ordering, the burgers are better at Hungry Jack's.
You don't give in. You don't give up. You push on when most would have pushed off. You lend a hand, whether a hand was asked for or not. It's called Aussie Spirit for good reason, because it takes spirit to get through times like these. Lucky you've got it in spades. It's what inspires us to be by your side to help. Together we'll get through this. We always do. Search Toyota, here to help.
This is for the hundreds of thousands of folks that keep racing going. Aussies just like us that love it. And unlike any of our overseas competitors, every bet you have with TAB goes towards funding 75% of the Aussie industry and the people that keep them running. Yeah, that's worth backing. TAB. Long may we play.
Know when to stop, don't go over the top, gamble responsibly.
Up next, could an ongoing childcare cost overhaul help get our post-COVID economy back on track? We look back at the PM's turbulent time since last year's shock election win, how he turned it all around during the pandemic. And the pressure picks up in the MasterChef kitchen as a fan favourite is sent packing. The project next.
Well, time now for a final weather check. Josh, heavy rain on the way.
Yes, Georgie, and plenty of farmers will be happy about that. I was just reading an article with farmers in Gundawindi that have planted a winter crop for the first time in around about 4 or 5 years. So they're very much looking forward to this rain on the horizon. It's all due to some very cold, dry air coming up from the Southern Ocean that will interact with very warm, moist air coming down from the north. And the clash of those two different air masses certainly firing up things as we get through this week. Tomorrow, we're just going to see a few showers continue along the eastern fringe thanks to onshore winds, and we could see the odd shower thunderstorms spark up through areas of the central and western inland, but the heavier falls will come a little bit later in the week. So Wednesday this system starts to get going through inland parts of Queensland. On Thursday it starts to intensify even further, and then as we get from Thursday into Friday it shifts a little bit further eastwards to incorporate the southeast inland and even possibly the southeast coast. From this point on, the models are playing around with possibly an east coast low forming off the Queensland-New South Wales border. So we'll have to keep an eye on that over the coming days, but certainly one to watch. Showers forecast for Cairns, Atherton and Townsville tomorrow. Chance of a shower for Mackay as well, and also Longreach hitting 26 degrees. Chance of a shower for Gympie and 25. For the southeast, partly cloudy. The very high chance of showers near the coast tomorrow, mainly in the morning and then again in the late afternoon and evening. Temperatures are 24 degrees for Logan, 20 degrees at Toowoomba and 24 at Caboolture. For Brisbane City, we're looking at a few showers tomorrow with a top of 24 degrees, still on average for this time of year. Over the coming days, the chance of showers again on Wednesday, and it could intensify further into Thursday with rain periods and 24 degrees. So the brolly will be required Thursday. Chance of a shower persisting on Friday at this stage. Now for Ipswich, we're looking at showers right through this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, even rain periods developing on Thursday with a top of 22. Some cooler temperatures due to that cloud cover and also that rain activity. Now for the Gold Coast, we're expecting the chance of showers Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, rain periods and 23 degrees, possibly finding up Friday and Saturday, although I did mention the possibility of that east coast low, so that forecast may change as we get through this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, slight chance of a shower for the sunny coast, increasing on Wednesday and a Thursday with those rain periods developing, and again the showers persisting from Friday and then into the weekend. So plenty of people want the rain at the moment. Georgie, it could be coming in spades through certain areas of Queensland this week.
Yeah, we certainly need it. Thank you, Josh. That is 10 News First for now. For more details on tonight's stories, make sure you head to 10 Daily. But stay on 10. The project is next. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Tonight, could an ongoing childcare cost overhaul help get our post-COVID economy back